Hi, this is Oral Communication. I am Shara, and welcome to our class. For today's lesson, we are going to learn about the nature and elements of communication. And the things that we are going to learn are, first, we are going to define communication and explain the process of communication. Secondly, we are going to distinguish verbal from nonverbal communication. Third, we need to identify the elements of communication. And finally, we need to internalize the points to ponder in engaging in intercultural communication. So maybe you have asked, what is communication? Communication is a process. It is systemic, it is symbolic, and it involves meanings. How can you say that communication is a process? It is a process because it is creative, continuing condition of life, and it changes as the communicator's environments and needs also change. Then how can you say that communication is systemic? It is systemic because it occurs within systems of interrelated and interacting parts. How can you say that communication is symbolic? Well, it is symbolic because, contrary to what many think or believe, meanings and symbols are assigned, given, or invented. And finally, how can you say that communication involves meanings? Verbal with words, or nonverbal without words, are the basis of language and they convey meanings. Under the nature and elements of communication, we are going to also learn about the definition, the process, and elements of communication. So what is the real essence of communication? Communication leads to community, that is, to understanding, intimacy, and mutual valuing, that is according to Rollo May. Communication, then, is more than just the process of saying something to another. Rather, it is a way by which we could make ourselves heard and understood, as well as a way for us to know more about and understand others. Under this lesson, we are going to learn the following words. First, communis. It is a Latin term which means common, or to come together or share something in common. Second, stimulus. This is the idea or concept that the sender wants to convey. Next, sender or speaker. He or she is the one who encodes the message, while the receiver or the listener decodes the message. The channel is the mode or method of sending the message. The context. This is the situation or environment in which communication takes place, such as the time, place, event, feelings, or perceptions. Feedback is the response given by the receiver to the sender. Also, we are going to learn why communication breakdown happens and how to avoid it. Finally, noise, distraction, or interference, which is a barrier or a hindrance that obstructs the understanding of the message. So here you can see the communication process. It starts from the sender, who encodes the message. It is whether written, spoken, or through nonverbal or gestures. After encoding the message arrives to the receiver. The receiver then decodes that message, and if he wants to respond, it is called the feedback. Now, when the receiver responds, he becomes the sender. However, in this communication process, it will not be effective if these things are present. And because of these things, communication breakdown also happens. Noise is always present every time we communicate. In the following situations, let us see if you can identify the noise in the situations. Number 1. A teacher lectures while the neighbor's dog barks endlessly. What do you think? Second, a student thinks about the quiz and needs to be submitted the next day. Third, a child busily scrolls Facebook while his mother is giving him instructions. Fourth, a professor lectures and coughs continuously. And fifth, a student is reporting in a class where there is poor ventilation. What do you think is the answer? So at the end of this lesson, let us see how much you have learned. First, this is a Latin word which means to come together or share something in common. What is it? Second, this is the idea or concept that the sender wants to convey. Who is the one who encodes the message? What about the one who decodes the message? What do you call the response given by the receiver to the sender? Why does communication breakdown happen? And what do you call that barrier or hindrance that obstructs the understanding of the message? So that is lesson 1, which is the definition, process, and elements of communication. I hope to see you again in our next lesson. Thank you and goodbye.